Hey everybody, thank you for joining me on my channel, Marriage Picture. Don't forget to like and subscribe on my channel to get more videos. Today we're going to talk about 5 things that I learned when I started doing camera. Now, number 1, white balance. Now white balance is basically how your camera reads the source of the light, the temperature of the light. So temperature, which I means in media term, we use Kelvin to measure the light. So it's basically how the camera reads the light source coming from the light. On a normal given day, it's daylight. As you can see, the light is coming through, it's daylight. It's 5500 Kelvin. Now Kelvin, it's just the name they use to measure the light source. So Kelvin comes from one guy, his name is Kelvin. As you can see right there, his name. So under different light source, you get different color temperatures. White balance. So white balance basically means adjusting your camera to read the light source that coming through, white as white and black as black. So it can be all the way over here cold and all the way over here warm, the temperature of the light. Depending on your light source, if it's in a sunny afternoon, definitely it would be more over here, more to the warm side. And if it's in the night, then you'll push it towards this side, the cold side. So under different light sources, you need to white balance your camera to the light source. So if it's tungsten is the light, the bulb light, it's really orange, then you have to balance it using your camera settings. Go inside, change the Kelvin to that. Hence the others too, if you have a different light source, which is too fluorescent, like the fluorescent light or daylight. As you can see right now, it's bouncing off me. It's 5500 Kelvin. And some other different artistic choice you can choose. Like you see in the movies, they have different light and they leave it there. They don't white balance the camera. It's basically because they choose that artistic image or artistic way of the film should look. That's for the film crew. For us as beginners, we stick to white balancing. White is white and black is black. Number 2, exposure. So exposure basically means there's a little knob on your camera. It says iris. You have a DSLR or a normal video camera, you'll see it's called iris. So that basically knob controls the amount of light coming into your camera. So when you close it up, it stops the amount of light coming into your camera. When you open it up, it opens up to allows the more light to come inside your camera. So it's called overexpose. See, there's much more light and it's overexposed, blown out. In media terms, we call it whitewash. And then underexposed. See, it's really dark. You can't really see my face. And this is a perfect exposure. The amount of light coming into the camera to see the image or the subject you are shooting. Number 3. Number 3, focus. So focus is the distance between the camera and the subject or the object you're shooting. So as you can see now, the camera is focused at me. So if I move, it will continue focus on me. So it's on autofocus. So it's not really, it's the distance between the camera and the object which we focusing at. So if we say, if I move back, then the camera has to change focus again. If I move forward, the camera has to change focus again. So it's basically measuring the distance between the camera and the subject you're shooting or this object you're shooting or whatever you're shooting. So in movie films and all that, they use tape measures, big tape measures, and measure the subject and the camera position. So they get the exact measurement to then the focus knob, like again, the iris, the focus knob is on the camera. It's the focus on the ring. If you have a video camera, it's basically there too. But most digital cameras nowadays, you have autofocus. So you can just see this camera too is autofocus. So if I move side to side, it's still focusing on me. But in the old days, so in the film, they use measurement to exactly measure the distance between the camera and the object or the subject you're shooting. I'm just gonna tell you a little story about when I started and I learned how to focus. So when I started shooting in this company, in this media company, we were shooting a kids show, and I was the B camera. So on shoots you have like A camera and then B camera. So I was on the B camera to get the cutaways. The cutaways basically we're gonna talk about. It's just pixels overlaying. So I was holding the B camera and I was shooting, and I thought that I knew like everything. After all the shoots done, and then I went back to see the footage. It was all out of focus. So that's what I learned. If you focus, you have to focus in every moment or distance between the camera and this object. You have to change your focus. So that's one of the things that I learned when I was shooting, and I made a mistake. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. All of us are learning from mistakes. Number 4, shutter. So shutter is basically a door opening and closing for a certain period of time, allowing the light to passes through to capture the image. So if you're shooting like a fast moving object, let's say you're shooting a dog running, if you want to capture it in focus and also in motion, you have to turn up your shutter. Turn it up. So if it's at 60 per 1 second, you have to turn it up to maybe 100, so you can capture the dog when it's running. Number 5, lighting. Lighting is the most important thing apart from all the other things, because if you have good lighting, you have good video. When you go out on shoots, or if you're shooting your friends or your families just around the backyard, don't actually shoot into the sun to get a clear image. You have to shoot behind the sun. So let's say the sun is there and it's beaming on my face, then your camera should not be facing towards the sun but towards behind the sun. So when the light falls on me, it falls perfectly, and you're shooting perfectly on a clear image. And of course your lighting makes your videos look more professional. That's the 5 things that I learned when I started doing camera. I hope you learned something from the 5 basics that I learned, the important things that I learned when I started doing camera, and I hope you learned something about it too. Thank you for joining me on my channel again. Always like, subscribe for more videos and more tutorials, and always remember, go out there and start shooting.